History is often written in a series of grand arrivals. We remember the dates, the flags, and the maps. But we forget the nausea. We forget the salt-crusted eyes and the sound of men whispering in the dark about a world we were sure had an edge. Stand by for a story about a man and a boat. He was a tall man, red-haired in his youth, with a mind that lived in the margins of old books. Christopher Columbus, as you see here. He didn't just want to find a route, he wanted to prove a point. He spent years knocking at the doors of kings, a professional beggar for a dream that most called madness. But eventually, Isabella of Spain reached into her treasury. She didn't give him the finest fleet in the world. She gave him 3 small vessels and crews made up of the desperate and brave. And leading them was a flagship that was never meant for the open Atlantic. The Santa Maria, as you see here, is one of the 3 ships, the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. She was a heavy ship, broad-beamed, slow, and about as graceful as a floating barn. She wasn't built for discovery, she was built for cargo, but on August 3rd, 1492, she turned her wooden nose towards the sunset, carrying the weight of a new age on her oak ribs. For weeks they sailed, and the terror of the crew wasn't the storms, it was the silence. The wind blew steadily from the east. We call that a trade wind. To the sailors, this was a curse. They thought, if the wind always blows west, how will we ever get home? Every mile they gained was a mile they feared they could never reclaim. By October, the Santa Maria was a floating prison of anxiety. The men looked at the horizon until their eyes burned. They saw mirages of signs, I'm sure, a branch of berries, a strange bird, but the horizon remained a flat blue line. Columbus, the admiral of the ocean, had to keep 2 sets of logs, one with the real distance and one with a shortened distance to keep his men from tossing him overboard in a fit of panic. He was a man holding a secret in one hand and steering wheel in the other. He was navigating by faith, by stars, and a stubborn refusal to turn back. But now, here's a little bit more. The Santa Maria, this boat, never made it home. She ran aground, likely on a coral reef, on Christmas Day that very year. Her timbers were stripped to build a fort. She became a part of the land she found. But today, 5 centuries later, that 3-masted ghost has been called back from the deep. The CIT Mint has released the first edition in a new series, as you see here, called Legends of the Seas. It is a collection that focuses on the famous ships like this and the captains, who sometimes were even more famous than their vessels. And they knew there was no other place to start with than the Santa Maria. Through a process called smart minting, this isn't just a flat image of a board, this is a history in ultra-high relief. Look at the depth. When you hold this 1-ounce silver coin, the ship doesn't just sit, it erupts. The sails are inflated, the sea is rough, and the wooden hull looks as if it's being blown right out of the coin by that very same trade wind that terrified the Santa Maria's crew. Turn it over and you'll see the obverse. This is the view the admiral himself had, a vague idea of a sea route, the endless bottomless ocean beneath the keel, and the helm which had to be held firmly in a hand that refused to shake. It's a stunning colored coin, limited to just 999 pieces worldwide, a tiny number for a man who found a whole new world. It's a journey through time that you can hold in your hand or in your pocket, though I would recommend it on a shelf, because while the original Santa Maria is gone, the spirit of the man who steered her and the legend of the sea that she became is now struck in silver. But should you seek this coin as Columbus sought exploration? Well, let's put it on our 60-point scale to find out. When we look at the amazing obverse, we were reminded about the nautical nature of this coin in every potential way. We have the helm of the ship holding the effigy of Charles with natural text needed to ratify this coin, as we can see. The helm itself is a traditional one and meets the planks of the deck whose wood grain greets the horizon. Perspective art has a vanishing line upon a horizon, and as we see here, the bow kisses the horizon as it meets the motion of the ocean. The next part is just a absolutely nice touch. Not sure if it was intentional or not, but in the sky we see a bit of nautical cartography, which is all well and good, but to remind you, one of the best markers for nautical exploration in this era was the sky itself, be it stars or sun. This is a fantastic correlation and brings the obverse home with a perfect 10. When we move to this reverse, we see the amazing Santa Maria sailing seemingly into the palm of my hand. It is regal in a way and feels so much more than a cargo ship. Take a look at how just a touch of color can illuminate the scene. I think colored coins are often drab and take away from the coin, but this is as perfect as I could have imagined possible with color. With just a touch on the sail and just a touch on the timber of the boat, as well as a reflection of the water. It is outstanding. I absolutely love how this was colorized. Here, I had said that the Viking coin that we did a few weeks ago had the best boat I'd ever seen on a coin, and just 2 weeks later, I might be having to retract that statement, as the Santa Maria might take the cake. The water is just outstanding. We see the year 2026 hiding in the ebb and flow, and as our eyes retreat, we see the text on the right side leading us upward to the man who made much of the eastern exploration possible. It states, 1492, Columbus discovered the New World, leading us to the Santa Maria cursive script right here. Just below, he stands in repose in his traditional garb. It's quite the stoic stare. This is an outstanding design, and it scores a 10, bringing us, of course, to mintage. As mentioned earlier, the mintage is extremely low on this coin at 999, which means that if this is a must-have, you better get it the instant you see it. I know that many US retailers such as APMEX have contracts with CIT Mint, and these coins should be on those websites soon if they're not already there. It's an extremely low mintage and scores a 10. Now we move to cultural significance. You might wonder why a tiny cluster of emerald islands in the middle of the vast Pacific would care about a wooden ship that sank in the Caribbean 500 years ago. The Cook Islands, as we see right there, bears the name of a man who mastered the sea himself. But even Captain Cook had to look back to the man who first dared to leave the sight of land. When the Cook Islands puts the Santa Maria on silver, they aren't just minting a coin, they very well could be acknowledging their own great-grandfather of the waves. One could argue that the path to their own shores began with the courage of a man who didn't know where he was going, but knew he had to go. Columbus was in many ways the first shot in a war of exploration that did not stop, and many could argue is still going on as we're reaching out to the vastness of space. Though there is not a direct connection, there are some strong parallels between this coin and the colonization of the Cook Islands. It's a far stretch, but there is some connective tissue, so I scored a 10, which brings us to collectability. Nautical themes are some of the most sought after in bullion. History is another strong contender. This coin has both in spades as well as a strong ultra high relief design and low mintage in a series that is in its first chapter. This is an obvious 10, bringing us to uniqueness. As mentioned, nautical themes and historical themes are always the rage. This being said, one of the world's most famous boats and figures have tons of coins featuring them. Most are standard bullion coins with little to nothing to set them apart from each other. When I see this coin, I instantly know it's a CIT product. It has the fingerprints of its creator. The CIT Mint has done us a favor by creating something that is hyper unique, not only by design, but also by its relief. It is beyond amazing, and I scored an 8, bringing us to our final thoughts and score. The Santa Maria makes landfall at a stunning 53 out of 60, meaning it has crossed the ocean into the elite status of coins. The only detraction worthy of mentioning is cultural significance. It's a serious contender for all collections and should be considered for anyone who has a nautical or historical interest. But enough about me. I want to know what you think. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are on this amazing coin. And please remember, as always, to stay classy and current with the culture of currency.